What is going on, everybody? So today we're gonna be going to a customer's house who has a very old tank that's been running for a long time, and recently their tank had some malfunctions, equipment malfunctions, which caused the tank to kind of take a slump. Now, we haven't been here for a while, and I just got in the house and the tank looks pretty rough. With that being said, you know, that's why they call us to come out, surface the aquarium, get things back on track. But first, I want to take you to another aquarium that's just hit that sweet spot. The tank is maturing, it's looking really good, and the customer is comfortable now spending some money and taking his tank to that next level. He gave us a budget, and I'm gonna throw it to you guys, and I want to hear what type of corals can we put in this aquarium. Now, we already got softies in it that have been doing really well, but now I'm looking to put something a little bit more on that next level, so LPS and SPS. Love to hear any type of suggestions you have. So let's go inside first, check out this aquarium. I'll show you all about it, and then we'll get your thoughts. All right, so here's the aquarium, and it's finally starting to really kind of dial in. Got the coralline algae going. I just turned the lights on. The lights are usually off right now, so some of the corals aren't open. But you can see some really good coralline algae growth. The tank is really starting to kind of dial in. All the corals in here that were in here, all the corals that have been here for a bit are starting to finally do well. That torch coral lost a head earlier, but we added a power head, add a little more flow in the aquarium, and now the torch is doing really, really good. Now, some of the issues we have here is we have a little bit of bubble algae, and that's pretty much about all we have. We got some mushrooms over here that are taking off. That goniopore is doing really good. But the plan with this tank, but the situation with this tank is there's not a lot in here. There's, you know, some clownfish. There's a little green spotted puffer there in the corner, but just not much going on. So we've been given the green light and a nice little budget to be able to kind of fill this out. So the first things I'm gonna do is get rid of these anemones, because the customer wants to get some you know, stick corals in here, some SPS, some branching stuff, and we can't do that with these anemones in here. And these anemones, honestly, this color variation of them doesn't look great, so we're gonna go ahead and take that out so we can fit a lot more corals in here and not worry about the anemones taking over the aquarium. You know, so with the anemones, you know, you just go real careful, the base of them, kind of massage the foot of the anemone, be very gentle. You don't want to hurt the anemone or tear that foot at all. Go close to the rock as you possibly can until they pop off. Yeah, if you want to save the anemone, it's really important not to hurt that foot right there. So we got one anemone out. Now, when the anemones are like this, you can clearly see where that foot hits that rock. It makes them a lot easier to deal with and to get them off. You just go gently across that rock and see how it just peels right up. See how that just kind of peels right up? So they easier when they're not bury themselves into like crevices or rock. And there's the second one. So that's both of them out of here, which gives us room to put a lot more stuff. Now we got all that real estate cleared up, not worrying about anything having to, you know, sting this area. We have all this area now to put corals, which is, yeah, it makes me excited. And now that we got the budget and the go ahead, you know, what do you guys think would work well in this aquarium? What type of corals are you guys thinking? It's a relatively smaller aquarium. It's not huge. It's a aquaforest, which is this is one of the first aquaforests we set up. But yeah, what do you guys think would be good in this tank? Not just SPS, but also LPS. What type of LPS corals should we do? I'm thinking about, since we got this torch coral right here, we get some more torches and make like a little torch garden right there. Yeah, let me know. We got plenty of real estate here, so please down in the comments, let me know what you guys think. Now on to our next job. This customer called us because they want us to take out their Mandarin dragonet because it's getting way too skinny, and this tank is only 3 months old, and there's just not enough pods in this tank to sustain it. You know, it can't forage for food, and then it is eating frozen food, but unfortunately there's just too many fish in this tank that are quicker and get all the food before it can. So it's losing a lot of weight, and if we need to take it out today, because if not, it's gonna starve to death. So I'm gonna work on that right now. What's really cool about these fish is they release like a slime coat on them as a defense mechanism. Now my hands are all slimy, so I gotta make sure I wash them really good. So we got the Mandarin dragonet back at the shop. It is pretty skinny. It's a good size Mandarin though. And I believe it's a female. It's hard to tell from being in the bag. But we're gonna keep it here at the shop, the quarantine shop. We're gonna get it fat. We're gonna put it in this tank that's well established, got a lot of pods in there. Plus we're gonna feed it some brine shrimp, and hopefully we can fatten it up and put it in the customer's tank at a later date. But that is a beautiful fish. No wonder people are tempted to get it. You just gotta make sure you have a really well established aquarium. All right, so the fish is acclimated. We're gonna pour them in here. There we go. All right, so hopefully now with all the pods in here, and I'll throw some brine shrimp in there too, we can fatten up a bit, get it healthy, and once it gets a decent sized weight, we'll rehome it. All right, so finally here we are, last job of the day, and I'm already set up. I walked in and I realized it was gonna be as bad as it is. There is a ton of algae blocking my view of the aquarium. Huge algae bloom. This is because they had an equipment failure. There was no flow, things got stagnant, and we were able to get out here as soon as we can, but we do have a lot of other jobs. So, but as I'm looking at the tank, the corals look relatively decent. Yeah, like they look healthy for the most part. That chalice looks like it's grown. The Kenya tree looks good. The Duncan looks good. I see the bubble coral. Yeah, so the corals for the most part look really, really good. A lot of these corals probably enjoyed the water being a little bit dirtier, which is, you know, some corals do like that. The Hollywood Stunner, I'm surprised. It's really grown. Even pieces of it seem to have broken off and have fallen down here and have kind of grown right there, which is a bad sign for the acan, because the acan looks like it got stung. Mushrooms are doing good. There is a lot of detritus and algae on the rocks, which you could see before that. If you look closely at the rocks, there was coralline algae there. But because of the loss of flow and things being stagnant, you can barely see in this glass. This is crazy. Because of the loss of flow, that coralline algae is now being taken over by that hair algae and some detritus. So, I mean, this tank is over a decade old. So, I mean, you know, this was designed in a way, you know, back of the old school way of reefing. They kind of just threw rocks in here. It wasn't really well thought out. So a lot of stuff gets trapped in those rocks. There's a ton of detritus probably trapped back there. So it's very important to have good flow in this tank to try to stir it up and get all that stuff out of here. Otherwise it just sits in here and just becomes, you know, food for the algae. Now I was able to get the power heads working again, and the return pump was kind of working slow too. This tank is definitely under filtered. Very small sump, because that's how they did it back in the day. Well, that's a cool little macroalgae. I'd like that in my 20-gallon tank. In my little macroalgae tank, that's pretty cool. I'd like to have that. But anyways, yeah, so as we get a clearer look in here, I got the gyre working, so we got some flow going now, so we're mixing things up. This rock work, like I said, wasn't really well scaped, so a lot of stuff gets trapped, so it's important that we get that stuff in the water column. You can see little particles floating. That stuff is in the water column, and it will be able to get out and filtered properly now. And with the water change, it's gonna help even more. And I gravel vac the sand a bit, got some of that detritus out of there. The sump on this tank is just crazy small, so you know we're working with what we're working with, so we just gotta, you know, do our best. That's why it's so important to have things working properly. We still got some really good coralline algae growth. Once this algae's done, we'll get back to this tank looking like it did before. Look, equipment fails, that's the way it goes. Add another power head in here. I'd like to add more in the future too. And you can just see the sump. I mean, it's like a 10-gallon tank. It's the way they did these tanks back in the day is crazy. I wanted to point this out because there's purple coralline algae, but right next to it is brown coralline algae. So a lot of the stuff in here that looks like it's detritus or bad algae and stuff like that is really just brown coralline algae. It's ugly, but that's not a bad sign. Yeah, so that was a lot more algae than even I was thinking, but you know, that's why it's so critical to have proper flow in your aquarium. You know, there wasn't enough flow in there, things got stagnant, things were able to build up, weren't able to get up and out of the filtration system, and that tank is already under filtered. So, you know, you're gonna have algae blooms and things like that. So luckily we were able to do a big water change today. I'm gonna add some more stuff to the tank. I'm gonna clean those rocks really, really good. And we're gonna add some stuff to kill that algae. And we'll be back here in a couple days, do another big water change, and it shouldn't be a problem, but that's why flow is so critical in this hobby. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one.